do the Gospels give us the words that Jesus spoke or not? So let me just give one example, the Sermon on the Mount, which is probably the most famous collection of Jesus' teachings, Matthew chapters 5, 6, and 7. It's 3 chapters long. Jesus is said to have gone up on a mountain and to have taught his disciples these things found in these 3 chapters. Now, Matthew was written around the year 80 or 85, probably. That's usually when people date it, which means it was 50 to 55 years after Jesus' life. And so my question is, how does somebody 50 to 55 years later remember what it is that Jesus said on that occasion? So I'm not sure what would be comparable in your British context. In the American context, every year the President Obama, gives a State of the Union address where he talks for about an hour about how the country's doing. And so I ask my students, so we had the State of the Union address 2 months ago. I'd like you to reproduce it for me. Well, of course they can't reproduce it for me. So you say, well, but they weren't really, trying to memorize it. Well, suppose they were trying to memorize it. As Richard said, memories were no better in the ancient world than they are today. So suppose Obama or Cameron or anyone else gives a speech for an hour, and you try to remember it, and then say a week later, you try to reproduce it. What are the chances that you're going to reproduce it correctly? And now suppose you don't wait a week. Suppose you wait 50 years and you reproduce it. Even if you were there, what are your chances of getting it anywhere near right? And what if you haven't, in fact, heard the speech? What if you heard about the speech from somebody who heard it 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 from somebody, and then you try to write it down 50 years later? What are the chances that you're going to get it right? I'd say the chances are extremely remote.